Russia's buying back their own old weapons from China. Is it lethal aid? It is, but we're also giving lethal aid to Ukraine. Is it because this war is illegal? There's no such thing as a legal war. Why would we escalate the conflict with China over what Russia and Ukraine have been fighting for the last year? When you have a true battlefield to test your equipment, that's called battle tested. That's the highest level of testing you can get. So not only do you have all of these new weapons that have been developed by the United States proving themselves out in the field, plenty of the weapons that we've sent to Ukraine don't work, but we get a chance to take that feedback from the field directly back to the manufacturer and send out more testable gear. This constant conflict between Zelensky asking for more, but the reason he doesn't get more is because the United States knows we can't give him everything he's asking for, and if they lose, Russia gets all those weapons. If they win, we have a very formidable force, trained and equipped with top-of-the-line weapons. That doesn't make NATO comfortable, that doesn't make the United States comfortable. It's this hard balancing act between giving them just enough that they can keep the fight going, but not enough that they can actually ensure their own security. Why did Biden get on stage during his State of the Union in February? Why did he get up there and promise no new taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year? Why was that the number? Because senior politicians can make up to $400,000 a year, half of which is their salary for being a politician. He doesn't want to tax the Senate, just like the Senate doesn't want to ratify a law to pay themselves less. What would a world look like where the United States is not the largest superpower? We have to be asking ourselves. If you're not asking yourself that question, you're just staring at a wall. You're blinding yourself. We have to be asking ourselves the question, what do we do as a country, and what do you do as an individual if America is not at the top of the mountain anymore? Economists are predicting that by 2033, China will be the largest superpower in the world. Can we effect changes now that prevent that from happening? I think we can. They'd have to be pretty radical changes, but I think we can do it.
With all these UAP, UFO, weaponizing space, it makes me wonder, what is out there that we don't know? If there is something out there and it does happen to be a threat to our world, I don't think we're gonna get very far as we are now, where we're all fighting each other and we're enemies. We're gonna have to unite eventually, if that stuff is what some people think it might be.
When human beings are threatened as a whole, that pyramid disappears. If there's some kind of invasion, extraplanetary, extraterrestrial invasion of Earth, the whole concept of state disappears. Is it the United States paying some third party to attack those pipelines? Maybe, but again, it's unlikely, because if the Americans get caught sabotaging European pipelines, that's a massive blowback. That's like the end of NATO if America is caught interfering with its own pipelines. So if it's not either of those two players, who's the covert action behind it? Could be China, could be someone like Iran or North Korea operating on their own in support of the war. Could also be a country like Ukraine that wants to continue to further conflict between, that continue to create this hatred of Russia. So they could work through some third party, or they could work through some mercenary group to affect the pipelines. It doesn't bother them, right? But either way, whether it's China or Russia, North Korea, or even somebody like the Saudis, who are a total wild card in all world conflict, somebody seems to be using covert action on those pipelines.
What is your opinion on the globalization stuff?
I want a long-term secure America. There always will be a winner and a loser, always. So if I have a choice, I'm going to choose to be on the winning side. Do I think that there is suffering in the world? Yes. There will always be suffering in the world. Do I think that some people live in unfair, harsh conditions? Yes. But they will always have unfair, harsh conditions. The difference is, I don't ever want those conditions to exist for me and my family. I know that makes me sound cold, and I know that makes me sound like I just don't care about people.
Well,
I do care about people, but in a priority order. And I care about my family and my fellow Americans before I think about anybody else. And as a nuclear missile officer, I knew where our nukes were pointed, I knew whose nukes were pointed at us, and I had TS/SCI Cat 6 and 12 clearance. The Biden administration, whether you're pro-Biden or anti-Biden, the empirical evidence shows that our COVID response under President Biden destroyed the US economy. And now as a result, inflation is rampant, recession is pending. Newspapers and media want to treat us all like we're idiots. So they have to talk to us like we're idiots. But the reason so many of us get frustrated is because we know we're not stupid. So don't talk to us like we're stupid. The money that's going into Ukraine, the conflict and the pressure that the world's putting on Russia, it's not really about those two countries. Materials disappear, money disappears, weapons disappear, they get resold on the black market. It's a mess, right? Do you know where some of the most advanced European drone manufacturing companies are?
I do not.
Belarus.
Really?
Why are they in Belarus?
That's a damn good question. I mean,
Because it's cheap.
it seems high risk.
High risk, high reward.
What do you think about all the speculation with all the supposed money laundering that's going on over in Ukraine?
I'm willing to bet that it's more than just speculation.
Are our politicians, is this money coming back into our politicians' pockets?
That one's trickier, right? If you look on that scale of probability, I would absolutely say that it's a high probability that the money going into Ukraine is being recycled back to the politicians. All the semiconductors and super chips that we're all worried about because they're built in Taiwan, they're all designed here. They're just built there because we don't have a manufacturing base anymore. So that's why I'm not worried that China is already more sophisticated. They beat us to the punch in some things. They've got hypersonic missiles. We're just developing them. They've got different technology on aircraft that they've been able to steal from Europe and the Middle East that we're still developing. But then you look at other things, their aircraft carriers don't compare to our aircraft carriers. Their operational organizational execution of military conflict, their approach to covert influence, or what we would call propaganda, is very, very much behind.
Really? You think they're behind?
They're behind in how they execute it. They have a state-run system. They can basically blast fake news and withhold real news. The real conflict here is a conflict between which direction the United States wants to drive the world as a potential superpower. The Biden administration and the media all try to tell us that we have to protect Ukraine, that the United States' protection of Ukraine serves this larger purpose in protecting democracy and secures the long-term future of pro-democratic countries. That's all a party line. That's baloney. The real reason the United States is involved in Ukraine is because as long as we keep a proxy war happening in a third world country like Ukraine, we're wasting Russian resources. And as we waste and deplete Russian resources, we only have to compete against one other country in the world, China.